Welcome to the morning meeting, everybody. It is Friday, September 6th. We're some number of days away from the debate. If we could afford a countdown clock, there'd be one, but the debate's on Tuesday. And Sean and Tim and I are going to walk you through what's happening today, talk about it, and as always, take your questions if you'd like to get into the conversation, particularly you new people. And every day we got new people, which is great. Please raise your electronic hand. We'll call on you, ask you to say where you are, who you're supporting in the presidential race, and what's on your mind. Today's day book starts with the economic statistics that were released just a while ago. Let's get up the graphic for the CNBC report. The jobs numbers were, as we say in the vernacular, disappointing, not as high as what people expected. As always with economic news, that means it's more likely interest rates will be cut, which is good. The markets don't like it, though, so the markets are down a little bit, but by the end of the day, they could be back up. But we're going to talk about what's going on with the economy in light of the fact that both candidates obviously know that that's an important issue in this race. In terms of what the candidates are doing, the vice president is in Pittsburgh at her hotel doing debate prep. She might pop out for a photo op, but there's nothing on her public schedule currently. Donald Trump is doing something that the campaign says is a press conference at noon. I'm dressed up not for a job interview but I'm going to Trump Tower today. The last time I went to Trump Tower, I don't know if it was weeks ago or months ago, not that long ago, for a press conference. I walked in, there were no chairs set up for the press, like in a press conference style. Everybody was behind a rope and stanch. And he took no questions. He gave a rambling, long set of remarks, and then he walked away. And people shouted questions. But that to me is not a press conference. Here's what I think is going to happen. I don't think it is a press conference. That'd be my guess, even though I'm going to go because I got a great question. I'm not going to tell you. But what I think he's doing is this. As Sean can confirm, Donald Trump does not like to be behind in fundraising. The Harris numbers yesterday, I'm sure, really bothered him because even though they have plenty of money and their spin is we'll have enough to spend, Harris's number yesterday, and if she keeps it up, will make a difference. I mean, it's just qualitatively different how much money they have. When does Trump raise money? On what line? When he's talking about lawfare, when he's in courtroom, when he's indicted. So he's going to the courtroom today, doesn't have to. He's going to the courtroom in the E. Jean Carroll case today at some point. I don't know exactly when. There's lots going on with Judge Marchand. There's stuff going on with Judge Chutkan. I predict what he's going to do is come out and just talk about lawfare and then watch the cash register and not take any questions. But I hope he does. So that's it.
Can we do an over under on the questions? Let's do it. He's going to take
how many
questions.
He takes?
No, he's going to take questions.
Will there be a chair for me, or do I have to stand for 3 hours again?
Listen, I think
will it be set? No, Sean,
he'll take questions.
But will it be set up like a press conference in the atrium of Trump Tower under the beautiful escalator, the most famous and beautiful escalator ever built, or will it be set up like a speech? I predict it'll be set up like a speech.
Wait. Why is that? I get your point, but
because asking questions. Here's why. Because a press conference is really only qualitatively different from a gaggle or shouted things if you can ask a follow-up. And if he's calling on people who are shouting from 25 feet away, standing behind video cameras and still photographers, it's just not the same thing. The quality of the exchange is not the same. He can blow up any question he wants. Much harder if it's an actual press conference. So, look, Sean, I'm telling you, there's a difference. I've been to press
there's a difference, but when you get one side,
press availabilities.
I think the threshold is he take questions.
Okay, all right, make the over under 5.
He takes 5 questions.
Exactly 5. I hit it on the head again. I'm brilliant at the over under.
And by the way, will you admit if you don't get your question, will you reveal it on Monday?
Yes, I'll tweet it right after the press conference.
Okay,
I will. I'll say in this circumstance, I will take the over. It will be uncomfortable because you won't be seated, but he'll go over 5 questions.
I'm thinking of stopping by like a sporting goods store and buying like one of those things you take to a golf.
That you sit.
They kind of sit because my back I can't stand for 3 hours again. All right, and just to be clear, when you're standing at a New York press conference waiting for it to start, the still photographers just make your life miserable because they're beasts. All right, Tim Walz, as far as I know, isn't doing anything. Joe Biden is going to Detroit and doing an event. He's very active. This president who people thought would disappear. He's in the battleground states like crazy. And Doug Emhoff is in Chicago doing a campaign event and presumably raising money. Now, J.D. Vance, I see no sign of a public schedule. A little birdie, though, told me he's in San Diego today. He's doing a big fundraiser. I've seen the invitation. It's a big fundraiser. He's also going to the border. Take a look. The local paper, or a local paper, the Times of San Diego, JD Vance said to prepare at fundraiser, right? But I can report, and I've not seen this anywhere. So consider this a morning meeting, world exclusive at noon, doing an event on the border, a press conference, no podium, answering questions, and he's going to have some of the wall behind him and some Border Patrol union officials with him. Why the Trump campaign doesn't want us to know about that event enough to bother to tell us, I do not know. But there you have it. All right. So that is what's going on today. And we're also going to talk about our favorite topic, the media, because Sean and I are incensed about something. But let's start with the economy. Tim, we talk about it a lot here. The economy is supposed to be the biggest issue in the campaign, according to voters. Donald Trump gave his speech yesterday. The numbers come out today. Harris is sometimes defending the Biden-Harris record, sometimes talking about her own plan. Where does the debate stand on the trajectory on by election day? What would the exit polls say about who's better on the economy?
I think it's a little unclear at this point. There was a surge, I think, in the numbers for how Harris was viewed on the economy when she was announced. And she's closed that gap with Trump, but it looks like it's been a little stagnant recently, and different polls have you all over the place on that issue. So where the exit polls will be on the issue is unclear. I think to your point, Mark, Harris is able to do that is different than the president is. There is a little bit less defensiveness about the record and backwards looking on what we have done on the economy and an explanation as to why inflation is high and global supply chains and all of that. And voters are forward looking. And so I think what she's been able to turn the corner on a little bit with some of these policy rollouts is to talk about what is going to happen in the future. And I think her team has actually done a good job too of, whether it is Goldman, amplifying some Goldman Sachs analysis or Moody's or, economists saying look at these different plans going forward. Trump's is an inflation bomb. It's a tax cut. If you're worried about for the rich, it's a tax cut that will spark inflation. She has a better plan for employment. She has a plan for small business. So I think that forward-looking nature of what she's doing is what's really important. Where the numbers will be in the exit polls, I don't know.
Yep. Sean, before you weigh in, let me just amplify. I think, Tim, you're absolutely right in their brilliance in understanding how does a Democrat who people might have doubts about on the economy, particularly given the administration's record, how do you send the signal to voters you get it on the economy? One is the policy rollouts. Two is I think she's been pitch perfect on I feel your pain. Not too much, things are horrible, but enough so she doesn't look out of touch. Today, they rolled out an endorsement letter from 88 CEOs or former CEOs. Most of it's dog bites man, but there's a Murdoch on there. James Murdoch is one of the endorsers. So that is something reporters will repeat. Sean will laugh at it. But again, we're just talking about the spin and the imaging. And then lastly, I think they've been super strong on, as you said, Tim, putting Trump somewhat on the defensive to an audience that wants to hear Trump's not perfect. His record's not perfect in the economy. His current ideas, a lot of economists, liberal economists mostly, but not only, will say are dangerous. And as you said, citing these Goldman Sachs studies. Sean.
So as I've said multiple times, the two issues that I think really drive an election are safety and security, economic security, personal safety. They're gut issues. You either feel them or you don't. No CEO, no endorsement, no government statistic is going to convince you one way or the other that the economy or your safety are doing well one way or the other. So you either feel it that it's going well or not, whatever. I'm pulling up the CNN poll from the other day. In battleground states, the economy was at 39 in Arizona, 43 in Georgia, 38 Michigan, 40 in Nevada.
As the most important issue.
As the most important issue. And the next issues barely cracked. The second most important issue anyone responded to barely cracked double digits. When you look at Trump's advantage on the economy in these battleground states, Arizona, Trump 52-37, Harris. Georgia, 48-44, Trump. Michigan, 49-44, Trump. Nevada, 53-37, Trump. Pennsylvania, 50-42, Trump. Wisconsin, 47-45, Trump. Point is, these numbers today don't help her. You can't explain away what's going on. And this is a huge advantage to Trump. This is why the refrain from Trump surrogates and supporters continues to be stay on message, focus on this. If he can jam home this message in the debate, that's going to be huge for him, as you all know. And again, to your point today on the presser, this is a winning issue for him and for the campaign. The question is, can he stay on it?
Yeah. All right, let's talk quickly about this media story. Again, if you'd like to get a question in, please raise your electronic hand. If you've never spoken on this platform before, don't be shy. We'd love to hear from you. Please join the queue. So yesterday, J.D. Vance said, I'm paraphrasing, I probably should be reading the exact quote, I hate the fact that these school shootings have become, what's the phrase, Sean?
A way of life because
Fact
of
of life.
fact of life. Because
I hate
of
the fact that they
psychos.
become, yeah, because of psychos. And the AP initially ran the headline of J.D. Vance says shootings are a fact of life, suggesting he's given up. He doesn't think we need to stop them. It's just the cost of having a civilization. They eventually fixed it. But the Washington Post and New York Times stories today are not as bad as the AP story, but they go out of their way to make it seem like he was being callous. I find it disgusting and an abrogation of professional duty. Sean, it's also extreme. It's also reflective of the extreme anti-Republican bias that exists in too much of the press. What do you think?
So again, I don't like just being agnostic here. Credit to the Kamala campaign for jumping on it. They took advantage of the situation.
Yeah.
I would have done, and look,
almost,
and again,
almost like they're teammates with the press. Almost.
God, it's crazy. But this is, look, for people who are on the left, and I know Tim finds it amusing. This is what we feel like we face every day between big tech. You saw the Alexa thing the other day, and every error is just, it's a mistake. It's an error. Oh, we fixed it. And you cannot put the genie back in the bottle. And this is something that for the folks on the right that we feel like we combat every single day. And it's always dismissed as a one-off. And look at this. I mean, it wasn't like, Kamala took advantage of it. It ran everywhere for a while. And then it was, it's corrected once the damage is done. This is one and more example.
But here's what's Tim, before you audition to be the AP spokesperson, here's what's galling to me. For the AP, whatever. For the New York Times and Washington Post to have seen what happened with the AP and still run highly misleading stories, I don't know how to interpret that except to say that they're trying to make sure Trump doesn't win. Tim.
Yeah.
I would press spokesman.
So just very separate from this conversation for 1 second there's also, I think, a good instance yesterday of how the media benefits Donald Trump and how they cover him. Look at his answer on a childcare question at his economic speech. It is insane. It is rambling.
His answer sucked, Tim.
But it gets packaged in a way and cleaned up by the press. Mark, we talked yesterday about the NBC Nightly News package. Watch the NBC Nightly News package. It looks like a totally coherent, event with answers. But hold on, I do want to get to the AP question. I do want to get to the AP question. I'm not trying to dodge it.
You're right about that one answer. But I could give you Joe Biden answer and Kamala Harris answers and Mitt Romney answers that are just as bad. It's bad. You got no position on childcare. It's bad.
Yes, but anyway, I think there's a degree to which it gets stenographized, if that's a word I maybe just made up by the press, in a way that is not for others. Okay, sorry. Back to the EP. Look, the bottom line is that what he said and how he said it was sloppy, and the premise of the sentence, what he said, is that there is nothing that we can do to proactively at root causes to deal with this. All we can do is fortify. All we can do is fortify schools.
It's not what he said, Tim.
But he did. He said, I don't like it. This is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize our schools are soft targets. That's what he's saying. He is
true. But
tell me what's not true about.
But to say that gun violence itself, to not
address
not what he's saying. Whether it is to have access to guns, whether it's like safe storage, whether it's background checks, whether it is
he doesn't believe
regulations.
He doesn't believe in the same gun safety laws you do. He shouldn't therefore be penalized by having all the media suggest he's callous about these shootings and is indifferent to them.
I don't necessarily disagree with the fact that he's not saying he does not care whatsoever that there are school shootings that are happening.
Tim, be more.
Tim, as a fact of life. It's his
give a little bit
sentence. It's his,
rather than giving your convoluted double negative. Will you concede that what the AP did was unfair, and that the Harris campaign taking advantage of the unfair headline compounded an unfair situation? Would you concede those 2 points or no? Was the initial AP headline unfair or not?
I want to
yes or no.
I want to be fair here, but I can't say yes to that. He said that it is a fact of life. Those are
He
his
said he
words.
doesn't. He said he doesn't like that it's a fact of life,
Right.
Tim.
Sure, that's fine. And you know what? Maybe the AP. Here's what I'll give you. Maybe the AP corrected headline. Do you guys like the AP corrected headline? JD Vance says he laments that school
I
shootings are
don't
a
love
fact
it.
of life.
I don't think it's totally fair, but it's certainly not rise to the level of something I'd complain about.
I
But
think
had they run the original,
I think the broader point is, look, I don't want to dwell on this because I feel like it's too early on a Friday, but I'm telling you, this isn't, I mean, it's just one more example. And every time there's never an example where you see the left says you don't go hard enough on Trump. That's the big difference in how the media covers. You guys complain that it's not hard enough. We tell you that you got, I mean, it's every day there's a story that, and it's frankly not just what gets covered, it's what doesn't get covered. It is unbelievable. And it's way too early to get this wound up on a beautiful Friday here, just outside your nation's capital.
All right, we're gonna go to your questions. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just gonna say I will start bringing a right-wing media bias to this, so we can do both.
Please do. Please do. Although you did give an example. Travis, welcome. I'm going to unmute you in a second. We're not going to preview the debate on our own, but if people have debate questions, we're happy to start pretending that there's something smart to say about the debate. I think if you want to know my debate preview, read Peggy Noonan's column today. She kind of nailed where I think it is, but again, sort of meaningless. Travis, welcome in. Tell everybody where you are, who doesn't know, who you're supporting if they don't know, and what's on your mind. Travis and I are in the dance of the unmute. I'm going to do one more time, Travis. Here we go. I don't know why you're not unmuting. Try one more time. There you go.
How about that?
There you go, sir. Yeah, all good. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. I'm from just outside of Houston. Been watching your show, I don't know, for a couple of months now. First picked up on you on Wednesdays on Smirconish. Kind of a middle of the road guy, I would say. I voted for George W., I think 5 times. So I think he was 2.5 terms here in Texas and twice in Washington, voted for Obama twice. I voted for Trump in 20, I think. I think I voted for Hillary in 16. So kind of in the middle.
Travis, you know what John Cougar Mellencamp would say about you? Travis, you know what John Cougar Mellencamp would say about you?
What's that?
Ain't that America? Ain't that America? You voted for everybody. All right. All right. And who are you voting for this time, Travis?
I don't know. It's probably a nobody, maybe a write-in for Mark Halperin. I don't know. But it's,
if elected, I will serve.
Yeah. No, I really like some of the military folks that are on Smirconish. Admiral Stavridis, maybe the head of the UT, and I'm trying to remember his name, the head of the UT system, General McCraven, those type folks. But that doesn't look like it's going to happen ever in my lifetime.
If you had to vote only for Harris or Trump, who would you vote for?
Probably Trump, not because I can't defend anything because I really can't stand him. But if I was just looking at the two political platforms, and I hate to call myself I've always said I'm not a single topic, single issue voter. But some of the things that the far left, I mean, and it's not that I don't think that everybody is a proponent of, for example, the transgenders in sports, because I have a daughter that's an athlete and happens to be a swimmer. So that just the fact that, and with all due respect to him, I enjoy it, but the fact that no one on the left will come out and say things like that are just inherently wrong. That crawls all over me. But I know I don't have a long time. But what I wanted to say, and I never raised my hand, I've always just observed and listened, and I try to listen to both sides. I listen to CNN. I don't watch Fox. I don't watch MSNBC because those are too extreme. News Nation is my primary source, I would guess, and folks, some other off-brand things. But this is what I just want to say this, maybe for the folks like me out there. The fact that the folks like Tim, again, all due respect, that they won't just admit They won't just say, what we're all seeing is this media bias. And again, I really can't stand Trump, and I it wouldn't bother me if he went to jail, to be quite honest with you. But the fact that they won't just admit that there's this bias in the way the way that the media words these headlines and words these stories and words the 5:30 Central Time news is so annoying because it's so obvious.
Okay, Travis, thank you. Travis, I want to turn you over to Tim, Travis, unless you've got a question. I think we get your point, but do you want to ask a question?
No. I just want to understand why no one on that side will admit these things. It's just this dodging and word salad. Word salad.
Tim, please.
Well, look,
Tim,
I'll
please.
take the question. I'll ask a question here, but it sounds like I may drive Travis further to the right, so maybe I should just shut up.
No, keep going.
Travis, I guess my question, and I ask this to people who are on the fence on this program, like, is there anything over the next 60 days that you think you could hear from Harris? And it sounds like maybe it is like a distancing from some part of the left coalition that you would say, okay, this makes me comfortable voting for her. And I guess it's maybe a follow-up question to that is, do you feel like the dynamic you're describing right now is the same as it was when you voted for Hillary in 2016?
First of all, I wish she would answer some questions. The fact that she won't take any questions and have a back and forth with we're talking about press conferences, if she would just have one of those and answer some questions in what I felt like was a honest exchange and not a prepped, canned, ducking and dodging response. Honestly, I might, because when she first announced for, the last time before she dropped out, I saw that we've got a prosecutor. And maybe as a Democrat, she might actually have a tough on crime stance, maybe a law and order type stance. I thought that might be her, but she didn't last long enough in the race for her to even give any positions on it. So, or that
Travis, I enjoy you. I'd make you a co-host of the show, but I want to get other people in. So, Sean, do you want to respond to? Do you want to? I appreciate it.
I will just. I'll bring it on Monday, but there's actually a great book by a professor. I think he's in the University of Texas system, as a matter of fact, Bernie Sanders supporter, who wrote an amazing analysis about the media coverage of Trump. And again, he's literally starts the book off by saying, I am a Bernie Sanders supporter, but I wanted to dig into it. I'll show it to you, but I think, anyway, you're on to something, and I'll leave it at that.
Yep. Travis, thank you, man. Come back often. Much appreciated. All right, Kim, tell everybody who doesn't know where you are, who you're supporting, and tell us what's on your mind, and don't crash, please. Bad for ratings.
Oh, yeah. Good. Thanks for unmuting me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am. All good. Go ahead.
It's Kim. I'm in North Carolina, and I'm undecided. And this question is for you, Mark. So do you think that society, the temperature has taken down a notch by people being decisive? Like, I don't want to use the word violent, but very, I know it seemed like in 2016 and 2020, people were really at each other's throat politically. And it seems like it's a little better now. But see, I've been on this platform, and I'm wondering if I'm getting skewed. So do you feel like people are generally getting more accepting of the differences?
Yeah. Kim, thank you for joining. Who'd you vote for in 16 and 20?
Let's see. 16 was
Hillary or Trump?
Trump, 16, and then Biden, 20, and I'm undecided now.
All right. So you're the most powerful person ever on this program, an undecided woman from North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So Kim, I someone mentioned this to me the other day. They said, I come on two-way and I come on the morning meeting and I hear all this peace, love, and understanding, and I'm being lulled into a sense that America has calmed down. It's a great question. I wonder if there's academics who've done studies that I would think would be representative. My short answer to you is I don't think so. I think between social media and cable, I think it's pretty negative, and I think the two presidential candidates are pretty negative. And maybe Harris is less negative than Biden in some ways, but I hope you're right. I don't want to aggrandize this platform, but the fact that this platform is having some success, I think, is a good sign. I will say, and I make this joke all the time, but it's true. Not a day goes by where a Democrat doesn't say to me, "I can't believe you've made me like Sean Spicer." I never thought
I didn't know my mom was a
I'm in that camp. I'm in that camp.
Some people say to me, like, "I hate you for making me like Sean." And I mean, Republicans say to me, if there was a Democrat I'd want to go to Brussels with, it would be Tim Hogan. So this platform suggests that there's an audience. And again, we want to build an audience, right? Where there's a business we're starting. This is not a nonprofit. But I think we're maybe a green shoot, but overall, I don't think it's true. Tim, what do you think? Is Kim onto something? Is two-way not just an aberration, but a reflection of lowered voices?
I think it is a little bit different than the polarized environment that we're in. I think we're just as polarized as we were in 2020 and 2016. I think, we're just leading the way here, setting an example of how you can do it in lower temperature and still have a conversation. But I get the sense that people are still stuck in their camps.
Yeah, Sean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that I was saying this a moment ago about the media. I just don't, and this is where I love to have the conversation, and I think it's helpful because I think that this is sort of like going to therapy where people need to understand where the other side comes from. And I think for folks on the left, there is a sense for those of us on the right that every institution has been stacked against us, not just for the last few years, but for decades. And frankly, that's what gave rise to a lot of the Trump movement. So anyway, I think what I love about this platform is that there's an opportunity to explain a little bit more and to say, this is where this side's coming from. And if you want to understand it, that's great. You can do it. But I think for so many people in America, they don't want to understand it. They just want to be in their camp and their silo. And so if you're one of those people that's curious, and I love understanding why Tim thinks the way that he does in the left, in all honesty, because I think it makes us stronger partisans when we understand the other side. Strategically, understanding your opponent is the best way to grow stronger. So I enjoy it because I think it makes us better if we get the other side, not just because to be completely honest about it. So, and then I hope you do vote for Trump.
All right,
Kim,
thanks.
Kim, come back daily because
Mark,
until you've decided who you're voting for. Yes, Sean?
Can I just throw, it switched off, but I know I appreciated Kim's participation from the car. I'm glad she's safe, but I got to give big shout out. I see it in the chat. Sharon is on a horse. For goodness.
Yeah, Sharon is on a horse.
And I just think that's like viewer of the week. If you're on a horse and you raise your hand, I may regret this.
Kim, come back in a hot air balloon or on a Segway or something.
Yeah.
You want to up your game. Kim, thank you. I'm serious. So come back. We'll be curious to see where you end up voting. Appreciate it. All right. I'm going to warn our affiliates. We're going to run just a little bit over. I want to get one more person in. Diana, tell everybody who doesn't know where you are, who you're supporting, and tell us what's on your mind, please.
Hi. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I am in Tennessee. I am actually recovering from COVID right now, and I am undecided. I have two questions. I'll say them really quickly. You pick the one that you want to answer. The first is, I do not like either candidate. I do not like either VP, and I think I'm one of many, many people like that. So the first question is, what can I do with my voice, with my vote, to let the parties know that they have screwed up yet again? Because my nightmare is that 2028 is going to be AOC versus Don Jr. That's what I see. Okay. The second question is one I alluded to, I think, in an earlier show, which is, I would like Tim to tell me which moderate Camilla has that she's going to listen to. And I would like Sean to tell me which person who is not a yes man or a yes woman Trump is going to listen to. Thank you.
All right, Diana, I'm going to take the first question, and then I'm going to let Tim and Sean answer your second question. And I'll remind you in a friendly way, as I do everybody, it's pronounced Kamala.
That's
like
right.
Comma, like
yes.
the punctuation mark. Yeah, thank you. All right, the answer to the first question is obvious. Write in Hogan Spicer as a ticket If you want to send a message to the
I don't
parties,
want to
that's
be
the way to do
VP.
it. Let's see. Sorry. Tim has more
It's a nice
gravitas,
house.
although I'm not sure. Tim, are you 35?
Yeah, I make it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm eligible.
Tim's a little bit more of the people and is a populist era. All right, Tim, who's around Kamala Harris that you'd point to say that that person is not from the Sanders wing of the Democratic Party?
Yeah. And sorry, just the question is someone who's in the party who's a moderate. Can it be someone
Or
who's
someone you think she'd listen to as president
yeah.
if she won?
I think from more of the center of the party, and this maybe feel like a random pull, but because I'm someone who's worked in Nevada quite a bit, we've seen some write-ups about how close Harris is with Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, much more centrist, moderate center. That state obviously has a libertarian streak, tends to produce politicians like that. She was with her as they were planning transition and getting her on the preparing for her for the top of the ballot. I would guess that she'll participate in administration in some way. It's a long
That's a
way
good
down
one.
the road.
That's a good one. Sean, who can you match with that to give Diana some hope?
First, just a couple quick things. First, I think you're on to something. This might be a new Dr. Seuss book. I do not like that nominee. I do not like the VP. I feel like there's something there. I'm going to work it out. We'll see if we can get this over the weekend. Second, just a real quick comment on the parties. This is like a pet peeve of mine. We are the parties. If you don't like who the parties didn't nominate somebody, right? It was the people in the states reacting or not reacting. And I tell people this all the time.
Not in the case of the Democratic Party.
Okay, but yeah, true. But that's actually, thank you for that. But I just say this to people who want to get involved. And we saw this a lot during COVID on the right, people who ran for school boards. If you don't like what's going on in your party or elected officials or whatever, get involved. And that's what we do here on this platform. But it's just, I feel like too many times people on both sides blame these institutions. When I was at the RNC, we had 200 people that worked in a building and people would say, the RNC is doing this. And I'm like, we're not that good. It's not the building that's doing something to you. It's the activists. And if you want change, Diane, I would say, great, here's who I want and here's how to run and da-da-da. I will tell you this on the last part of this question. The one big myth about Trump is that he doesn't listen to people. I watched him during the Paris climate change debate about whether to get in or out. Al Gore had held court with him for a long time. He'll listen to a lot of people. He just may not ultimately go with them. But if nothing else, Trump actually likes to hold court with people of different backgrounds and ideas.
Let's hope he listens. Let's hope he listens to me today. Sean, give us one name, please.
Of who he'll listen to?
Someone who's more moderate, who you think if he was president, not just listen to, but have influence in a Trump administration, who was not pure MAGA.
I think, again, it depends on the issue. I've seen him listen to a ton of people.
Name one on any.
I just did. Al Gore. He listened to him. He just didn't listen to him.
Al Gore's not going to have influence on him. And she's asking, I believe, who's someone who would have influence in a Trump administration who's more moderate and less MAGA? Just name one. I can think of 100.
I'll punt. I'm sorry. It's a Friday.
Okay. All right, fine. Diana, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Great to have you here. All right. We got to do a couple things before
Dan Turrentine, by the way, says Ivanka. Just so I'll throw that out there.
There you go. Speaking of moderation and everybody getting along, Greg Kelly, are you still there? I'm going to give you 30 seconds if you are. 30 seconds, Greg.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. 30 seconds.
Well,
because we're over.
I love two-way. Very disappointed that Tim can't acknowledge the AP's issue. I mean, it sounds like you're like Laura Curran said yesterday. You're concerned about what other people in the Democrat Party are going to say about this. Really kind of shocked by that, and that Kamala's getting away with this. It's not normal, and I feel like it's starting to sound like a very normal coverage. Oh, who's giving a speech? Who's doing this? Who's doing this? Who's doing this? None of this is normal.
Is that what you wanted to say,
just
Greg?
like very quickly, I'm not gonna. I will bring. I have a perspective, right, and I will bring a perspective to the show, and I will be honest about it. But I'm not going to, not give you my opinion just because there's pressure on the other side to cave. Like it's not. Not an opinion for anybody else.
Okay. One of the beauties of this, though, you have people like Alex Castellanos who are willing to. That's your perspective. We can get that perspective in a lot of other places. This is supposed to be unique. This is supposed to be being able to say a comfort level. So that's the problem I'm having.
Greg, I appreciate that. You are still in the running to be ombudsman of two-way and of the morning meetings. So thank you for keeping your hand in. Greg, thank you. Truly appreciate it. All right, a few things. As I said, I'm going to the press conference today. It's possible I will, at a very last minute, announce a pop-up episode from the press conference, not during it, but right after it, from Trump Tower. Maybe even to an episode from the escalator, just riding it up and down. So stay tuned for that. 4:00 Eastern time, I'll be back here for a two-way episode. So look for information about how to join that to round up the day. 4:00 Eastern time this afternoon. If you're in New York City and you got a little bit of cash and you feel bad for me, please go to the store and buy 202, please. Please go to a store and buy this. Somebody sent it in, 202, please. Buy it and meet me in the entrance to Trump Tower. Hello, there we go. Meet me in the entrance to Trump Tower. Drop that off. I'll be very grateful. I don't have time, but you can probably find that at like Target or Staples or something. All right. Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time, Sean, Tim, and I will be back for the morning meeting. It'll be a day before the debate. We'll talk about it again. I think saying, what do they have to do? It's all obvious what they have to do. Harris has to look presidential. Trump has to look civil and talk about the economy and immigration and not insults, whatever. But for our big debate preview show, join us Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern time, same bad time, same bad channel. Gentlemen, before we go, Sean, what's one thing you're doing this weekend that's interesting?
So tonight, 6:00 on my show, I've got the Alaska rep. If you are worried that it could come down to a 269 tie, Republicans need to take over the congressional district in Alaska. Democrats need to hold it. We're going to go through that, I think, probably like no other. And so it's a little in the weeds, but I think it's important.
All right. Tim, what's one thing you're doing this weekend that's more interesting than Sean talking to
I was going to say, all right, my answer is golfing.
Golfing.
I'm going to go
so
outside.
elitist.
Do you have one of those? Do you have one of those stools to sit on between holes? Because I'll give you mine after the.
It's motorized. It's called a cart. You get to sit in and around.
Sit in the cart. Trump loves the cart. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thanks to those who asked questions. Thanks to Ombudsman Greg Kelly. We'll see you Monday morning, and I'll see you either at middle of the day or certainly 4:00 Eastern time right here. Thanks, everybody.